Great. Thank you, Marcus, for being with us today and to talk to the group a little bit about iJAG. I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
All right, perfect. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Marcus Lunning. I'm an area director here at iJAG. Stands for Iowa Jobs for America's Graduates. Has anybody heard of us? One, two, okay, a couple. So I'll give you kind of the 30,000 foot view, and then we'll dive into a few of the ground level pieces. So iJAG stands for Iowa Jobs for America's Graduates. We're heavy in the J and the G part of it, so jobs and graduates. We've been around for over 20 years. We're a nonprofit. And what we kind of do, our services, we come into school districts and communities, and we partner with the schools around a focus group of students. So generally our roster's around 50 to 60 students. We kind of break it into grade levels as much as we can. So we're in a middle school level of 7 to 8. We have a 9-10 program and 11-12 programs. So, you know, our view of it is the kiddos that we serve, these barriers that they're trying to overcome, start at a young age. So a lot of times, by the time we're getting to them at a junior, senior level, it's already a heavy load for them. And so we identify that, and we try and get into that middle school space, have those conversations with the school district to say, hey, if we can get to them in their 7th grade year and help them through these transitions, help them through life when things start getting heavy, they're going to be better off by the time that when they are juniors and seniors to make decisions about what's next. Doesn't always pan out that way. So we're in school districts. I'm actually going to share my screen here. Let's see if I can. Let me know if you can see. Thumbs up. Good.
See.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So what I'm showing you here is our annual report. So this is a document, and I'm happy to send this. Anything I share with you today, I'm happy to send out to the group afterwards. But this is what we kind of do as our capstone to the year that is. So we run in a 5-year model. So when we're capturing, you're seeing these numbers, this is based on our seniors that then go into what we call our 12-month follow-up program, for where we track them for 12 months post high school. I don't say post-graduation because not all of our kiddos graduate. So it's post-high school. If we have non-grads, we're still following up with them. We're trying to get them to that graduation status. So all the pictures that you're going to see in here are our own kiddos. So we incorporate our own into our annual report. But here you'll see our CEO, Lori Phelan. If you would know, if you met her, she's very boisterous about and very passionate about what we do. She's been the CEO for the entirety of iJAG. So she's been the CEO of the company for over 20 years, 22 years to be exact. So knows every story, every in and out of everything that has happened in iJAG in that lifespan. As you'll see here, we are at 105 programs currently. So a program is a grade level. So we have 41 communities, which is our school districts, and we're in 32 counties. So we are looking to grow. We are growing at a rapid pace. This year, we're looking to add 50 more programs. We already have 11 out of our 50 signed up for the fall. So we're trying to get a head start there. But basically, we identify that, you know, there's our service that we provide, that support for those kiddos in the classroom. It's needed everywhere. Sometimes it's just a matter of schools finding the funding to have a program like ours because they're already spending their funds in other places. Sometimes with our smaller districts, it's a matter of, can I get, I only have 100 kids in my entire high school. You're asking for 60. So sometimes we're working with them on that creativity of how we actually get to the student population. What you'll see right here is what we call our circle of life, and I'll zoom in here. So this is what we kind of challenge all of our staff to be able to kind of articulate to, the circle of life. So here we have the students. So that's our focus. The students are our primary focus. Every decision we should be making in the classroom on how we serve what employers we're bringing into the classroom should be centered around those students. The who cares, that's you all. That's you all that are saying, hey, I'm curious. I have students that I'm engaging with. I have students that are in my program, in my school, in my community that really need this. This little bar graph here, with every one of our programs, we collect data. So we are trying to figure out where those students start. So every year at the beginning of the year, we collect different measure points. So we look at how they ended last year of attendance. So who's falling behind in school because they weren't in school. GPA, so who's not on track to graduate. Number of Fs, behavior referrals, because we understand that all these things play together, right? So if a student's not in the classroom, not showing up to school, they're likely going to be falling behind, which means they're going to have a high number of Fs. Their GPA, if they're having a high number of Fs, their GPA is going down. If they have behavior referrals, they're not in the classroom. Again, all these things kind of play together. So we figure out at the beginning of the year, where are we starting? So of our 50 to 60 kids that we have, we track all those pieces, say, where are we starting? Then we track it at two other points in time. So we do a mid-year report and again at the end of the year to be able to basically show our specialists, show our school districts, where are we heading? Did we move the needle? Are we progressing in the right direction to reduce the number of Fs, to reduce the number of behavioral referrals, reduce absences, and hopefully increase GPA and increase on track to graduate. From there, we have the clock and the dollars. So that's what we call time, talent, and treasure. So this is when we bring in employers. Our employers that we are bringing in, they're bringing in their time and their talented individuals, so their workforce, and ultimately providing treasure of opportunities. So whether that opportunity is a job shadow, whether that opportunity is to mentor, or that opportunity is an actual job, they're providing that by being in our classrooms and learning more about our students and developing those relationships. The next one here, you see the person in the cape. We call that our specialists. So our specialists who are in the classroom, those are our teachers. They're our superheroes because they're the ones every single day going out there and battling with all the barriers that these students are bringing in, helping them overcome those obstacles, and ultimately trying to lead them to a better output every single day. The folks underneath them are folks like myself that are helping support. They do this through resources. So this the pencil and wrench, that's the resources. So the resources we provide our specialists with are training. So all of our folks are certified trained in iJAG through our PBL. So we run project-based learning, which means that you won't find an iJAG textbook out on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anything like that. You're going to walk into a classroom and you're going to see posters up. You're going to see pictures up because they're running projects. That's how our kiddos are learning, is through project-based learning, which includes them having voice and choice. We want our kiddos to learn through what they're interested in. So we have them do career assessments along the way. We have them give input around, okay, we want to do a reverse career fair. Who in your community would you like to invite in? What occupations are you interested in doing? You want to be a chiropractor? Great. Let's line you up with a chiropractor that's in your community, so that instead of just Googling, what does it take to be a chiropractor? How much schooling do they need? How much money do they make? We're going to challenge you to ask those questions directly to those individuals. Where did you go to college? What pathway did you choose? The awkwardness of how much money do you make? You know, if our students can ask a live individual to do that, they're going to be more likely to ask those same questions to other individuals in their community or other individuals as they grow into young adults and young professionals. So that's kind of in that gears of we want them to get their wheels turning around what else can I do? So if I can stand up in front of my class and give this presentation about my story, or I can walk in front of an employer that I've never met before and ask them a series of questions, what else can I do? The ROI, so that return on investment. So that's really what we're working on, that return on investment for the school districts of of how is iJAG benefiting you? How is iJAG supporting your students for that financial ask that you put in for our business partners? The hope that ROI of them spending that time, talent and treasure of coming into the classrooms and being mentors and having job shadows is hopefully those individuals are now working for that organization and they're working for that company. And so they're seeing that return on investment by having, individuals employed. And then the last piece is the hands raising. So that ultimately, when we get through the circle of life, we get to those individuals that hear what we do. They see our kiddos in the classrooms. They're raising their hands and say, okay, what else can I do? Sign me up. I want to be a mentor. Give me more information. Let's have a program in my district. So a lot of the pieces that ultimately, when you come full circle and tell our story, we get to that point of folks wanting to do more. This next page is going to show you, so here are all the communities that we're in. I know that a few of you on the call today, you might have community or might have iJAG programs in your community, which is great. So this is kind of, I see it as twofold of learning more so that you can encourage kiddos to maybe get involved and get signed up. So every year we're a 4-credit class in the school district. So if somebody's not involved in iJAG, they certainly can get involved. If your name is not on here and your district isn't participating, we would ask your support. And if you have contacts in the school board, maybe it's a principal, superintendent, that maybe it's starting a conversation. As we show here, so between all of our programs from 7th through 12th plus our kiddos that are in follow-up, last year we had 4,000 students in our iJAG program across the state. Of our graduating class that we had, so just over 900, I think it's about 840, 98% of our 840 seniors that moved into follow-up graduated. So if you think about that from a number standpoint, that's about only 40 out of 840 that don't have or aren't walking around right now with a GED and a high school diploma. Of that 2%, that's always, I love when people challenge, because I'm a numbers guy, when that 2% say, okay, what are those 2% doing right now? The answer to that is they're working towards it. So our specialists that are in that follow-up piece with them, they're asking, what classes do you need? What are you doing to get there? How can I help? So is it trying to get you into a local library to take a test? Is it trying to get you into a junior college to take an additional class? What is it that we can do for that 2%? Sometimes that 2% becomes unreachable. We've got kiddos that are incarcerated that we can't contact. We've got kiddos that have moved out of state and we've lost contact with them. So I'm not going to sugarcoat and say that of that 2% that we know where every single one of them and we're in contact with them, because as soon as they leave the 4 walls of high school, they're young adults. So our job is trying as much as possible while we still have them in a classroom to stay connected with them, develop those relationships so that they want to stay connected and communicate with our specialists. Of our 840 kiddos out there, 65 of them are employed in some capacity. Of those 65% that are employed, about 75% of them are in full-time employment. So not only are we getting them into jobs, but we want them to get into full-time employment, livable wages, so that they can have a sustainable lifestyle of what they choose. So we have those kiddos that are like, I want to move out of mom and dad's house. I want to live on my own. Great. How are you going to do that? Have you budgeted for it? Do you have that deposit? So it's thinking through their decisions that they're making to make them independent adults. And then we have 77% of our folks that are in positive outcomes. So a positive outcome for us falls in 4 categories of full-time employment, full-time school, part-time employment with part-time school, or military service. So 77% of our 900 or 840 are in some form or fashion there. So again, if you're asking what is that 23% doing, they might be still going to school. So they might be part-time school, but just not working. They might be part-time work and not going to school. So again, we're challenging them to say, okay, what else can you do? Have you thought about doing more? Some kiddos are, they've had a rough year with COVID and going through school with living in a virtual environment, and they just need a break. Great. Take that break, take that time. And when you're ready, let us know, because we're going to be here every single month asking, are you ready? What's the next steps? What do we want to do? Where do you want to go? From there, again, it's just getting them involved. So as you'll see here, this is Build My Future last year. Last year we had over 400 students. This year we're going to be creeping up about 800 to 1,200 students that are signed up that are just iJAG. So out of our roughly 4,000 kiddos, we'll have about a third to a fourth of our folks in Des Moines at Build My Future here next month. So again, it's getting them into thinking, seeing, and envisioning themselves being in these occupations, seeing themselves having a career, seeing themselves doing something beyond high school. We do this through, I don't want to glance over it, our 7 essential constructs. I have another piece that I'll go over with these constructs, but this kind of outlines what those are. It's, being able to have that conflict resolution, self-advocacy, being career ready, being able to be self-dependent. So if you want to move out on your own, you want to start doing things on your own, do you have the capabilities and skills to do that? Managing technology. We're living in a technology driven world right now. So do you know how to navigate Google to be able to search for a job, get an interview, join a virtual call? So all these things are pieces that our kiddos are working on. Having the ability to critically think and be productive. So when those barriers exist, when those situations arise, can you navigate through those? And then life skills. And so again, can you survive? Do you know what it takes to function in the day-to-day operations right now? And we believe we do that through work-based learning opportunities. So as much as we can, we want to expose them to opportunities, see what it's like, because just as much as we want kiddos to envision what it is that they want to do, part of our job is also helping them figure out what they don't want to do. So we do that through work-based learning. So somebody comes in with a demonstration in the classrooms, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, that's not my jam. That's not what I want to do. And that's okay, right? Because now we've just eliminated a pathway for you that maybe you would have taken after high school and spent 6 months to a year for you to figure out. We've been able to eliminate that before you even got out of high school. And that's perfectly fine, because now we're one step closer to finding that pathway that you actually do want to go to. So as many opportunities, as we can, is what we're trying to provide. So in here, then we have some stories. So we like to share stories of our students, success stories, to kind of say, hey, here's what this individual has overcome. Here's where they are now. So this individual, Mason, from our Perry High School, it just kind of gives the lay of the land of her and what she overcame. Again, I'll send this out so you can read her story. But just, so breaking down just even little things of the cost per student to participate in our program. So if you think about the school districts, an individual that's leaving the school districts, right, going to be right around that $5,500 for an iJAG program at $1,800 per kiddo. The school's saving that $3,700 cost. So it's working with the school district on both sides. This is a breakdown of kind of how we get. So obviously we're, as a nonprofit, we are funded from the state. So we're in those discussions right now at the Capitol, trying to figure out how much money do we need to operate with our growth. So we have an ask of the state. We have private funding that we have from our employer partners that donate, so through foundations. Then we have grants that we apply for to help our funding. And then ultimately we have a cost to the schools. So every school that we are in right now for next year will pay $25,000 to have an iJAG program. That $25,000 goes to a full-time employee in their classroom with benefits, serving their students for 12 months. And so we like to say, that's about a half to a third of the cost that you would to bring on somebody and employ them by themselves. And so that's kind of our annual report and our summary of kind of what we do. This is another document that I'll send you that kind of lists out those essential constructs, kind of what they gain by doing that. And then ultimately with each of our students, I'll send this out of, we used to kind of drive ourselves around being with at-risk students and serving an at-risk population. But the reality is every kiddo is at risk at some point to making a decision or not making a decision based on what we call barriers. So I've used that term a few different times here, but here's a list of kind of when we were selecting students to join our program, we're asking the schools, we're asking counselors, we're asking teachers, community partners, so really whoever knows these students to be able to say, okay, if you looked at this list of barriers, who are those kids that we listed in 3 different versions that need, want, benefit? Who needs this, right? So who are those kiddos that are out there that really need that extra layer of support? Who would benefit from this? And we kind of say between the need and benefit, the schools can identify those. And then we really get to the students to say, okay, who wants there? So we interview all of our students before they come into the program to really make sure that they want to participate. They want to get better. They want to find their pathway, and they're willing to do the work to get there. And so we call it our need, want, benefit. So they kind of come through this list, and as you'll see, there's pieces that are home life, there are pieces that are school life, and so we kind of say it's a combination of, to ultimately figure out that population that we are going to ultimately serve. So it's a lot of information. I'm going to pause, see if there's any questions, maybe take a drink so that while you think about those questions, but I'm happy to kind of field any additional pieces that you might have or talk a little bit more in depth.
Thank you, Marcus. That was very good.
Can we go around it? We didn't really introduce to say who's from where.
Just a good idea.
My name is Delisa Ware. I'm with the Council Bluffs Community School District. We actually have iJAG in both of our high schools here, so I'm very familiar with both of them. I've worked with both iJAG teachers too. Well, I've been in meetings with them and whatnot. So, and prior to this position, I was a paraeducator. So I worked with students who went through the iJAG program. So it's, awesome. I've seen very close hand how successful
awesome.
the program is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the full feeder with Wilson and TJ, and we actually just are launching this fall. We're launching a 9-10 at Lincoln, so we'll be a full feeder in the high school starting next fall.
Yeah, cool, because I know right now it's only 11-12, so it'll be good to have them starting freshman year. Yes.
Yep. Nice to meet you. Barb, you're on mute.
Oh, yep. Barb, you're on mute still.
Oh, geez, so sorry. The superintendent here at Owine is Josh Ain, and I'm Barb Schmitz, and Josh asked me to spend some time researching this program, especially looking at it for our middle school.
Yeah, we've been in contact, I think, a little bit already with the middle school around starting that, because again, everybody looks at where that need is, right? So sometimes it is wanting to get to that 11-12s and help them graduate and figure out, but sometimes it's saying what's coming, right? Our greatest need is in that middle school, and we want to start there and kind of follow that group forward and help. So sometimes it is truly not always getting to the J and the G. It's over time we'll get there, but right now we want to focus on our most need, and it might be in that middle school space. Thanks, Barb.
I'm Nikki Clausen. I work with Delisa in the Council Bluffs Community School District. I'm more on the 21st century side, and we do before and after school, but Delisa and I also work together with the career pathways. So I do know a little bit about iJAG, and I'm actually familiar with the teacher at Wilson.
Sure.
She owns a little
Jamie.
boutique actually in Underwood. So I'm familiar with her. So I've actually talked with her a little bit and helped her write some things up to get more money when she was doing some fundraising. So that's how I'm familiar with iJAG. So this was a good presentation though. It was really interesting to see. And I love the statistics. I'm a numbers person too. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do you have any of your kiddos that are in iJAG? Are they allowed to be kind of in both?
Yeah, they can be in any of our programs.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that off the top of my head, but
Okay.
yeah, we can definitely
Yeah, I'd be curious. Yeah, I'd be curious.
Hi, I'm Ariel DePay. I work for Boys and Girls Club of Central Iowa. Right now, I'm really focused on the East High School students in our teen club. I don't think we have any kids in iJAG right now, but I think it'd be a wonderful opportunity to get them enrolled in it as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're working on trying to get some more involvement in East right now. We're just on the 11-12 with Teresa. So if you haven't connected with Teresa, I definitely do. And I think, you know, the more supports. So I would love for kiddos that are in iJAG to be in Boys and Girls Clubs, because they need as many eyes and ears and arms to kind of wrap around them to say, hey, we hear you, we see you, we want what's best for you. So the more we can partner, the better off I think those students would be.
I'm Dalton Lape. I'm at Owine High School, and like Barb said, just learning about the program.
Cool. Nice to meet you, Dalton.
And I'm Brittany Applegate with the Iowa After School Alliance. We help support the 21st Century Community Learning Centers Network, and just really excited to hear from you today, Marcus. And I guess one of the questions I was thinking of, and maybe this is for the whole group, so we really focus on the at-risk population too with 21st Century. And so I think to me, this just iJAG seems like a good opportunity to create that wraparound support for the youth that we help support. Like you said, as many arms and eyes as you can get on a kiddo. But our programming obviously takes place after school or during the summer. How can we make more connections between iJAG and what we're doing, especially this program, this cohort's really focused on career pathways. So how can we create more connection there between the two programs? Any thoughts from anyone?
Yeah,
I have a thought, and that's simple. Dual enrollment. If they're already in an iJAG during the school day, those same students could enroll in our 21st Century program, the out of school time experience. And the nice thing is we can do field trips. And even if a kid isn't enrolled in the after school, but they're in iJAG, we can invite them because, you know, we've got a whole bus we're going to pay for to go to colleges, or maybe some, we've got invited to like maybe Google or, you know, some big data warehouse or, you know, some factory where they can get that experience. That's one thing that we're really big on is field trips for the kids. And this grant for OSTCP will pay for high school kids and middle school kids to do those kinds of field trips.
that's awesome.
And we're doing apprenticeships for the high school kids, not the middle school kids. You know, we just do the exploratory for them. So I see opportunities here for us to work together and get kids thinking about careers like never before.
No, I love that, Vic. I think that's spot on. You know, of you know, these kiddos, like I said, we're identifying them in the school during the day to kind of say, hey, you need a little extra support. There's some stuff going on. How many things can we get you involved to keep you away from, you know, making wrong choices or away from going home to an unstable environment? So let's bring you into something a little bit more stable and that has clear objectives, right? So pathways, opportunities, field trips, job shadows, and I think, you know, we overlap in a lot of that, right? So just as much as We would love to take 60 students out every single day to field trips and opportunities to job shadow. We also have to do some work in between the four walls of schoolwork. So this is another avenue for our specialists and our students to get out into the community, get out to those employers. So especially at that younger, like I said, that exploratory phase of our middle school students, to get them thinking about it. So by the time they get to that high school, they know, right? They know where they want to go. And we're just now the guardrails, right? That are saying, okay, you told me you want to be this. You can't go there if you don't graduate. You can't go there if you're stuck in school because you're making up classes because you didn't show up. And so that's kind of our responsibility, is to kind of seed forecast, right? To stay ahead of it a little bit. So that they know, this just doesn't fall in your lap. You got to work a little bit for it. So I love that. What I would be curious as to kind of, as we send out some of these pieces of where we're at, where is there overlap, and so then what we can do is make those connections between our specialists and maybe those individuals that would be in the after school programs. So whether that's through this group or individually with those programs, I can definitely at least get the ball rolling and make that introduction.
Well, and we're a small group. We only have 4 high schools for this grant. That's because you already had to have a 21st century program to be eligible for these federal funds.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean that we still can't collaborate. And another thing is, every time I have a grant, I get a lot of inquiries where people say, well, how can I get involved? And one of the things I would point to for somebody calling me and saying, yeah, we got some high school kids, we want to do careers, I would say enroll in iJAG.
Awesome.
First thing.
Awesome. So where's the 4th? Oldvine, Council Bluffs, Des Moines East
High School. That's the East High School is run by the Boys and Girls Club on behalf of Des Moines.
Okay. Yep. So
we have 2 high schools in Council Bluffs, so that's
gotcha.
the 4.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks. Any other questions? Feedback?
Oh, I think this was excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
you bet. So I think if I don't have everybody's, I'll probably just get it to you, Vic, and you can disperse it. And like I said, I'm happy to make intros as needed. It sounds like maybe some of you all have already met our specialists. So if you don't need that intro, that by all means, I can at least follow up with them to say that I've met you, and we would love to kind of grow this out. Oldvine, we're hoping that hopefully we'll meet you by launching in that space. And I think hopefully this is a little bit of a catalyst to make that happen. But yes, let's not lose traction on this, even in the summer, right? So our specialists are still engaged with students in the summer, or we're trying to keep them. And this seems like a great opportunity to do that. If you have things that you're doing in the Council Bluffs and the Des Moines region for summer activities for students, this seems like a no-brainer, easy win to say, hey, there's a field trip, there's a bus heading to this place. Our specialists can hop in or at least participate, or get students to participate. And so I think that's an easy win there for our summertime. And then for the school year, it would just be a matter of, can we collaborate to say, here's what we're doing in iJAG, here's what you all are doing, and where are there opportunities to work together and partner.
I also want to thank Barb Schmitz, because this all started because she sent me an email asking a question about iJAG. And so I looked into it. I went to the website, and then I set up a meeting with Dennis Harden, who's on the advisory board. And then Dennis contacted you, and that's how all this happened, Marcus.
Power of networking.
Thanks, Vic.
Thank you.
Well,
all right.
Appreciate
yeah,
good
thank
questions.
thank you, Marcus. It sounds like it's going to be a great collaboration, a really logical one too. That makes sense. So thank you for taking the time to speak with us today and to share more about iJAG, and look forward to that follow-up from you that we can get shared out to the group.
Perfect. Well, it was nice meeting everybody. Please, by all means, if you ever have questions or need anything, consider me an additional resource.
Thank you.
Marcus, will you be
Yes.
sending, this is Barb,
Yeah.
you'll send your slides to somebody to send out to
Yep.
all of our
Yep,
email?
I'll do that immediately after this. I'll send that annual report, the list of the constructs and those barriers, that list of barriers. And if there's any other pieces that you're interested in learning more about, a lot of what I shared out today, we have some sort of documentation.
Okay.
And then if you feel like there's another call that, especially with OWINE, with trying to figure this out, feel like there be benefit for another call to kind of go through just what I did, by all means, feel free to ask. And we can set something up.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll share his contact information too.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks, Marcus.
All right, you bet. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.
Vic, did you have something else for the agenda today?
Of course.
I figured you did. I'll turn it over to you then.
Well, let me ask a simple question. Who would like to pursue additional funding? I see one hand, two hands. Okay, well, let me drop some information into the chat. There's actually a new grant that I just found out about yesterday. And I'm going to send you a link to the brochure in the chat. Then I'm also going to send you a link to the grants.gov funding opportunity. So I've got both of those links into the chat. And Brittany, can I share the screen? Am I able to?
You should be able to. Sorry, it took me a minute to get my mute button.
Okay. There we go. So this is the grant. It's not a big grant in terms of, the money that the federal government would normally disperse. It's only 10 million. But 10 million is a lot of money if you're a rural area. And notice that this is focused on youth living in a rural area. That's a focus. It doesn't exclude somebody in an urban area. It's just that you're not going to get preference points that you would get if you're not in the urban area. And the goals of this grant are very similar. And you also have to have an after-school program to apply for this. And it's just additional funding. Now, keep in mind, if you're already getting the OSTCP grant, you're going to have to, scale up some of the things that you would do with OSTP in order to be eligible, because we can supplement. That's something that they like, but we can't supplant. So, something that you're already paying for with the OSTCP grant, like a salary, you can't take somebody off of that. And this is a 4-year grant and not a 5. But think about this, we're year 4 of the OSTCP grant. And both of these grants would end at the same time. They're looking for kids age 14 through 21. And, you know, this, you can also get kids that are, you know, in foster care. And, you know, kids that are having housing instability. So if you're in an urban area and you want to work with some foster care kids or some homeless kids, you could apply for this grant as well. And those would be your focus areas. And they're also looking for youth from underserved communities. You have to be a nonprofit to apply. And here's the only bad part about this grant. I got it yesterday. Look at the due date, April 25th. So, I mean, that's not even 30 days to apply. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take you to the grants.gov so we can take a look at what's actually on the application. And this is what it looks like. And now they're looking to give away $10 million, and the limit for you is to request 2.5 million. You know, that's what we requested with the OSTCP grant as well. So here's the bad part. They expect to give out 5 awards, and I think they just divided the 2.5 to come up with that number, but you know, they might do more awards. You could apply for this on your own, but I would strongly advise you to have other groups involved. For example, if you're rural and you want to work with homeless kids that are in a rural area and underserved population, all of those focus areas that the feds have listed increase your likelihood that you might get funded with this. Okay. And since it's only, you know, $2 million, bigger states like California, Texas, New York, they're just, you know, they're ignoring this. It's not enough money for them to even get out their pencils. But a small state like Iowa, yeah, that can make a difference in a lot of lives out there. Now, the bad part is with the OSTCP grant, that was something that we could do as a state. So you guys are going to be on your own to do this, but I wanted to share this information with you. And you can certainly ask me for technical assistance on some of those areas, and I'd, you know, be happy to share some things with you. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Yes, I have some questions. How likely would a rural area be to get 2.5 million? I mean, would it be smarter to ask for less?
Well,
I want to think
any amount
smarter.
you ask for has to be justified.
Yes. Okay.
And you have to, number one, look at the population you're serving. How many kids are you going to be serving? Okay.
Right.
And then what about the needs of those children? You know, if they're homeless kids and you want to provide a career pathway, this may, maybe you want to think outside of the box and say, hey, we will provide a rent subsidy for these kids so they have an address so that they can get a job. Kids are looking for innovative things that we can do to help kids.
What about, this is a stretch, but this is an idea that I'm working with right now. We have, you know, 60, I think in our middle school, it's easily 67% free and reduced. It gets, you know, it gets less as they move up through high school. And part of that's because they're on their own and not filling out the paperwork.
Mhm.
So what if we were to partner with a food pantry that welcomes people under the age of 18 to for food, because we have a wonderful food pantry in our community, but they're not able or not at a place where they offer it to single kids under 18. They're offering it to families or elderly. Is that too big of a stretch? If you look at our food insecurity numbers and put that with this?
I don't think so. I think that's a great idea. Now, keep in mind, since this is workforce pathways for youth, what about providing a job for these kids, a job experience working in a food pantry? There's a lot of different jobs that they can get experience with in that. And, maybe you pay them a salary and also they can participate in the food.
Right. That I agree with. Also, we're hoping to partner with CSAs in the community and, have cooking classes.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and they're a nonprofit. So if the school worked together, so that I'm just thinking out loud, but you're saying, I think I'm hearing you say, Vic, that's not too far out of the box.
Oh, no. And let me ask you this. Did you have any restaurants go out of business during the pandemic in Owine?
Yes.
Well, what about contacting these people and saying, what if we want, tried to use some of this money to provide work experiences for kids, and, you were able to reopen your restaurant, we could provide, kids with subsidized wages for 4 years.
Okay.
And then we have a larger community impact.
Right. Okay. Next and last question. This is like, as you said, a quick turnaround grant.
Mhm.
Oh, look, a quick turnaround grant. What are our chances? Just, can you give me a I
right.
love
Your
stats.
chances are really good.
We're into the Final Four. It's Iowa State Day. What do you think, Vic?
All right, number one, you've already got this information. These other states, they probably were looking at it and saying, man, it's not even, 30 days. I'm not even going to send it out. So a lot of places won't even get this information because it's not enough time. Even with the OSTCP grant, we were the first ones to get contracts out. The other states, they didn't get anything out until the fall of last year. That's when they got their first contracts out. So that's why they kept asking us for, data, because nobody else even had anything going. That, you can use the fact that you already have an OSTCP grant, and that it's been, that you're in Iowa, that it's been successful. That would help, because you get preference for having an existing program that's not in deep problems.
Okay, Vic, that reassured my odds questions. So I think you and I should do our NCAA bracket together next year.
Well,
Okay.
and I don't want to limit you when you say that's the last question. You may have a question, next week. I want you to feel comfortable, reaching out to me for any of these, if anybody has a question. And,
Yes, I mean,
I love questions.
I know, and we will take a very serious look at this. And I will need technical help, I'm sure. So do you have can you show us through the screen what the grant actually physically looks like?
Well, yeah, the physical application for the grant has to be through grants.gov, and I don't have access to that. However, you may have someone in your business office. There may be someone at the AEA. Here's related documents for it. So anyway, there's the full announcement you can download. There's a folder of other supporting documents, and there's an at-risk system risk assessment on there. With some of those forms, you can send me an email and I can help you with those forms. But I can't apply for this grant for you.
Rats.
Yeah, I wish I could. But anyway, there's always opportunities, with federal funds, and when I hear about it, I always pass it on. And and then in the Iowa After School Alliance newsletter, they get grant opportunities that are smaller. It might be $1,000, $500, and they pass those on. And I never hear about if anybody applies for those, unless sometimes when I do a site visit, people will say, we got this, we applied for this grant from the newsletter. So it's kind of like, when you're in the classroom and you see a kid that you had years ago, and they say, come up to you and, thank you for teaching them. Sometimes we don't always know the impact in education, and we find out a long time later.
Absolutely. Well, in a rural area, 2.5 million is the moon. It's the moon. So, and we've written grants in less time than 30 days.
And here's another strategy. This is what I did with ours. There was some issue that they didn't like. And I said, listen, it's not something I can fix right away. So why don't you just reduce the amount of the grant? And they did that. So we got a little bit less than I had originally applied for, but we still got the grant. And the Iowa has a good reputation with these federal programs. So, they will look and say, oh, this one is from Iowa. And then they'll read through it. And as long as you're not saying that, oh, we're going to give everybody double their salary that's already in the school, and you have a good plan to help the kids, you should be okay. You'd be surprised on the federal level how crazy some of these people put proposals out there.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Vic.
Hmm?
Any chance we'll hear about the 21st Century Grant soon?
Yes.
Oh,
Very soon. Keep in mind, I have to do things in order. The OSTCP grants went out first, so you should be getting an email with that new contract, and get those back as soon as possible. And the next thing on my plate are the new grants. As I do contracts, I do the newest grants first, and then I will go ahead and renew the other ones. Now, something to be aware of, everybody got 100% carryover last year because of the pandemic. So you've got a lot of extra money in your budget. I would right now be looking at that budget because you've only got 2 quarters left for claims.
Right.
And they're only going to allow 15% carryover. So
Right.
make sure that, you know, you've got a plan to effectively spend that money. And if you need to get a call in with me and we can talk specifically about it and develop some strategies that are not going to get you into trouble with spending that money, let's do that.
I meet with the business office today to do grant budget review this afternoon. So
Okay.
I will remind them and we'll take a look at that, Vic.
Yeah,
Thank
take a look at your balances. Because, you know, a lot of our programs still have staff shortages. They,
Sure.
you know, they still aren't up to the level of students that they had before the pandemic.
Right,
That's affecting our spending.
right. I agree. Well, I just want to tell you, if we got the 21st Century Grant, our contract will be back to you ASAP.
Well, you've got an OSTCP contract out that'll come out next week. Get that back to me, and then we'll take things step at a time.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh, you
I
muted
know
me.
you're. You're always telling me to slow down, Vic. I understand. I can't help myself.
Well, we are at 11 o'clock, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Vic, any other final announcements before we go?
No, just I think we've covered a lot in this meeting, and I just want to thank everyone for participating.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for being here. We'll make sure to send out the follow-up from Marcus with iJAG once we get that, along with these links that Vic shared too. So that way you can have all of the information at your fingertips. All right, thank you all. Have a great Friday, a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Happy Friday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.